We are very excited. Suzanne, 12 years. It's been a joy and a thrill to be part of this incredible growing organization, and for the future of where UC San Diego Retirement Association is going. So we thank you for the opportunity. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get to the next slide.
There we go. There.
Okay.
Stop.
So again, it's going.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
Okay. So we are real estate professionals. We have dedicated ourselves to working with seniors, their family members, and their team of professionals to make sure that they're getting what we feel is the best and greatest advice as to next steps in their journey in terms of their real estate and their housing as they age. So again, Patti and I have created the Senior Stay or Go program, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And then we can move on. Let's get right to the meat of it. Enjoy life. It has an expiration date, and that's what we're going to focus in on your journey. So for those that were not here previously, we did a presentation on home safety tips for adults aging in place. And that is on the UC San Diego Retirement Association YouTube page. So that focused on almost exclusively on those that are wishing to age in their current home and how to make it safe for people to age in their home. This is going to be a different talk. This is going to be about for that journey where you may be considering what we call right sizing or downsizing or moving to a senior community. So here is what we're going to focus on today. So you own your home, you've owned it maybe 30, 40, there are probably some in this audience that own their home 50 plus years, and it has a huge emotional attachment to your well-being. But at some point you may consider looking for options, and that would what we would call right sizing. You may want to go from a larger home, single family detached home, to a condominium where you don't have so much upkeep on the exterior of the home, or you may be considering the senior communities that are located throughout San Diego County and certainly around the country. So the field of life, this is the outline for today. We're going to go through the field of life, financial and legal considerations, care, housing options, the stuff, which is all the stuff in the home, then the actual move, and then selling a home. So then we're going to spend about 5-10 minutes right here on what we call the field of life. For hopefully those that are baseball fans or baseball folks in the Padres, you will see what we're talking about here. There's a baseball field. And if all of these positions and players and coaches on this field aren't working in sync and aren't working together, it's really going to be detriment to your care and long-term living arrangements. So again, life is going to throw you a curveball, and that's what we're talking about, the pitcher to the catcher. Are you prepared when life throws you that curveball, ready to make a good informed decision? So remember, you are the owner of the team. You own your team. You're the owner. So what do we have going before? Who is our general manager? Our general manager in our field of life is the estate planning attorney. You and your estate planning attorney, and again, we have Heidi Klimpel right there at UCSD Retirement Association to help you with that. Really have to be talking consistently and about your wishes, about your dreams, and about what you want to happen as you age, and then what it would happen after you would pass. But really, the idea is as aging, the estate plan is as important as you age as it is at any other time. So that's your general manager. Your coach, we note the word for professional fiduciary, but that's really also your fiduciary. And you are, if you have a trust, you are the fiduciary of that trust, making sure that your wishes are implemented. So we're going to go around the horn. First base, second base is CPA financial advisor. We're going to talk about your financial decisions. Shortstop and third base is home care and aging life specialist. I want to talk about that in terms of the care that you will need as you age. Then we have in center field, we have Ron and Patti. In right field, we have what we call senior move manager and placement. And then you'll see the visitors dugout. Patti is going to go deep dive into the visitors dugout and really pull out all that's going on in the world of senior communities and your options as if you would decide to make that move.
And these players on the field are not just important for while you're living in your own home or trying to make a decision to right size or move to a senior community. These players are also very important for your transition. Like you may need help because you become mentally incapacitated. So everybody always says, well, I'm alive now, and then when I'm dead, this will happen. But what happens in the transition phase between those 2 points in your life? That 10 years of incapacity, mental incapacity, can be anywhere from 10 to 15 years long. I've experienced it with my own mom, and I've experienced it again recently with my mother-in-law. And my mom was 12 years, my mother-in-law was 10 years. So you just don't know, and you need to plan for all that time.
And then you'll notice in the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice bleachers. It says family, friends. We really would love to keep the family and friends in the bleachers. We want them to be your fans. We really don't want them to be telling you how to live and what to do. So again, having everybody work in sync is really going to give you keep in control. And that's what we have. Again, Patti and I have been doing this a long time. And the number one thing we always hear is, well, I don't want to lose control by handing off or delegating. And really, the facts are, you stay in control when you properly delegate a lot of this effort to other people that have your best interests at heart. So financial and legal, the money, that's obviously important. So from left to right, you have cash flow, life expectancy. If you're in your 60s and 70s, you may have a life expectancy into your 80s and 90s and beyond in today's world. So you really have to look at your cash flow in terms of if you are moving to a senior community, the cost of the living at that senior community and the cost as it goes up as you need more care. It's one thing you move into independent living, but then as you need assistance, that cash outflow is going to be increased. So you really have to work with your financial advisor. And again, we go back to the infield and second base, we have the financial advisor and do projections on terms of your cash flow, given your life expectancy. Capital gains. Again, if you have owned your home, well, obviously over the last 2 years, we've seen tremendous increase in the price of real estate. So if you own your home and you bought it even 10 years ago, and again, some of you in this audience may have bought it 40 or 50 years ago, you have a tremendous gain on the sale of your residence. So if you are considering moving from your current home into a smaller home or a senior community, you may incur capital gains on the sale of your primary residence. Now, there is some exemptions there that we won't go into deep dive to, but know that if you're a husband and wife, you can eliminate the first $500,000 of capital gains on the sale of your primary residence. If it's one person selling the home, you can eliminate up to $250,000 on the sale of your primary residence. How is that determined? Again, talk to a CPA, that first baseman on the field of life. Make sure that they talk to you about what is going to be the tax consequences of the sale of your primary residence. Prop 19, that passed 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was in 2020.
2020. Again, the idea behind—
No, actually, it was just this February.
Prop 19 is if you have a very low property tax basis. Again, capital gains is different than property taxes. Property taxes, if you have a very low tax basis on your current home, you can now take that with you when you buy a new residence anywhere in the state of California. If you buy at equal or lesser value, you can literally take the current property tax value and bring it with you to the new residence. If you buy a home that's greater in value than the sales price of your current home, then it becomes a hybrid. And again, talk to your CPA about the consequences of buying a home of greater value than the home you would sell. But there is still some benefit to Prop 19.
And in the past, before Prop 19, there was Prop 60, Prop 90, and you were only able to do this once in your lifetime after the age of 55. With Prop 19, there's different rules, and you're able to do it up to 3 times. So Prop 19 was implemented to also help fire victims and people with special needs. So that's why Prop 19 has very different rules than Prop 60 and Prop 90 used to have.
So Prop 19 doesn't work well for those that are going to be giving their property to their children, thinking their children are going to inherit their property tax basis, unless the child is going to live in that home and make it their permanent residence. So that's the change. That's the big change from the prior rules to today's rules. If you have a child that's going to live in the residence after you pass, then yes, that probably can work for you. If those children are going to make it a rental property, it doesn't work anymore. So again, CPA, financial advisor, first and second base, getting back to the field of life. Step up in basis. I mean, actually had someone text us this morning that we make sure we talk about this. If your home is properly titled in your trust, upon your passing, you get what we call a full step up in basis to current market value. So the classic case is you have a husband and wife, and unfortunately, let's say the husband were to pass away, the home is properly titled in the trust, the surviving spouse gets a full step up in basis to current market value of the price of the home. Therefore, the spouse could literally turn around and sell that home and have no capital gains effect. So
as long as it's in a trust.
As long as it's properly titled in the trust. So again, the importance of talking, again, going back to your general manager, your estate planning attorney, is everything properly titled in the name of my trust. The other classic case is upon the death of the owner of the home is properly titled in the trust, the children inherit the home, they get the full step up in basis, and then they can sell that home at no incurrence of capital gains tax. Financial resources, long-term care. And again, if it's going back, cash flow, financial resources, what income streams do you have? What income streams can you pull from that will allow you to financially be successful as you might be moving to a senior community? Care, aging, this is a website that we suggest you go to, aginglifecare.org. And again, if you go over to the third base and the shortstop, aginglifecare.org will talk about your options. One of the things is called an aging life specialist. And like what Patti said at the very beginning is so true. It's not that the odds of you becoming incapacitated in any form, just for a day, a month, a year, 10 years, and needing some kind of in-home care or some kind of care at the senior community, is about 70 to 75% of the odds that that's going to happen. So you need to have someone who's going to be your advocate for your health care. We don't recommend that your children, who are not, unless they're a doctor or a nurse, are going to be your advocates for healthcare, and that's a cost to get these type of folks in your corner so that your life's journey is on the best path for writing the right care. It doesn't make a lot of sense to move and downsize and right size and move to a senior community if you don't have the right care in place going along with it. Housing options pre-COVID, we used to talk about this quite a bit pre-COVID, And again, you can still do it, but it may be a little bit more risky. So again, cruise ships were a huge success story when it came to seniors selling their home or renting out their home and literally living on a cruise ship, maybe 300 to 320 days a year, and kind of what they call couch surfing. The list of the millennials call it couch surfing, hanging out with their children or grandchildren another couple of months out of the year. So cruise ships were very active in the senior community as a place to live. Home share also was very active pre-COVID in terms of having seniors find each other and share expenses and share home costs, and then moving in with relatives. Even pre-COVID wasn't, one that we encouraged a lot, but it was certainly of interest.
So housing options, there are a number of different housing options to consider. Obviously, staying in your own home and making it safe is first and foremost, because the majority, 98% of the population, wants to age in place. But there are age-restricted communities, there are independent living communities, there are assisted living communities, there are memory care communities, there are CCRCs, which are continuing care communities, and we'll get into what that means. There are retirement communities, there are board and cares, there are so many options. As the baby boomers like myself age, we have lots more to choose from than actually even our parents did. Our parents' generation thought of a senior living community as not such a nice place because most of them understood it as a skilled nursing community, which is also, not today's senior community. Today's senior community is like being at a resort. They have resort chefs, they have wonderful meals, they have tons of activities. It's almost impossible to be bored in a senior community. There are age-restricted communities all over San Diego. There's the Ocean Hills Country Club up in Oceanside, which is a gated community. There's Auberge at Del Sur in North Inland San Diego. There's Bernardo Oaks in Rancho Bernardo, and Seven Oaks also in Rancho Bernardo. There's Pacific Regions in the UTC area. If you like more of a condominium type of setting and want to be close to the mall where you don't have to get in your car. Although with the new trolley, you wouldn't even have to get in your car and you can get around the county a lot easier. Rancho Carlsbad is a community where they are all manufactured homes, but when you're in them, you'd never know they were manufactured homes. And again, tons of options of activities, as well as a small little golf course. And then there's Oceana in Oceanside. So there are a number of 55+ communities throughout San Diego County. Most of what we have here is North County, but there's also some in South County as well. And outside of San Diego, if you look at www.55places.com, you'd be astounded at how many you will find. The beauty of the 55+ communities is if you don't want screaming children on their tricycles trying to run you over, you won't find them in those communities. They can visit grandma and grandpa, but even their visits are limited to a time frame. Independent and assisted living communities. Some of these communities are strictly independent. Some are independent and assisted both. You have a number of them across the county. You have Wesley Palms in the PB South La Jolla area, Mira Gardens, you have Belmont Village, you have one in Cardiff. You're going to have a brand new one in La Jolla in the UTC area next year. You have Silvergate out in Rancho Bernardo. Atria has a number of locations in the county. Westmont has a number of locations in the county. Oakmont has a number of locations in the county. Sunrise has a number of locations in the county. Casa de Mañana is in La Jolla, right on the cove. It's a beautiful setting. And then Brookdale also has a number of locations. There are professionals that are placement professionals. They will assist you and your family with what community may best serve your needs, and then be able to take you to those communities and have you experience them. We always say, go to the communities that you're considering multiple times. Go have a meal, talk to the residents. There may be residents there that are super friendly and you absolutely, you know how sometimes you just hit it off with somebody, and there may be other communities when you go and you think, didn't feel right. You got to feel it, and you've got to know that it would be a good place for you. From a memory care perspective, a lot of times this decision is being made either by the professional fiduciary you're working with or a family member who is in charge of your care, because at this point, many times it's beyond your capability to make the decision. And these are those years of cognitive decline. There are, again, a number of locations that are specific to memory care scattered throughout the county. Some are larger than others. Some are smaller than others, but again, if you work with a professional placement person, they know all of these locations. And we don't have everything listed on here. Please don't misunderstand. There's plenty more out there. CCRCs are continuing care communities. Some of these communities are buy-ins, which means you buy in a certain dollar amount that at some point you can get back depending upon how your contract's written, and you pay a monthly fee. Whereas a lot of what we've already discussed, most of those are just monthly fees. There's the V in La Jolla, which is more of a condominium complex near the UTC Mall. There's White Sands in La Jolla area. There's La Costa Glen in South Carlsbad. There's Scripps Glen and Scripps Ranch. There's Casa de las Campañas out in it's that Rancho Bernardo. I always think it's Poway, Rancho Bernardo. And then there's Federica Manor down in South Bay. And all of these have different types of living options. So like Federica Manor, for instance, has, if you go in independent, there's cottages. And if you go into assisted, then you would move into more of their assisted living, but then they have skilled nursing, they have memory care, they have everything right there. The nice part about that is what I had to experience with my own parents, because I took care of my parents for 12 years, is that if you can move into a continuing care community, it's much easier on the person that's moving. So it's easier to move them within the community that they're familiar with than to have to move them to a new location, especially someone with cognitive decline. It's very frightening for them to move to a new location with new caregivers and new people all around them. Let's get this to go. Oops, went too far. Board and cares. These are private homes in communities. There may be one down the block from you and you don't even know it. So they're basically private homes that individuals have taken on. People, a lot of times board and cares are memory care and assisted living. I don't even know really of a board and care that's independent living. So it's when someone needs assistance, more than just 3 hours a day, more like 24/7. So whether you need assistance for physical capabilities, you need help dressing, you need help bathing, you need help eating, you need help with those aids of daily living, or you have a cognitive decline issue. Those are really there, and there's probably hundreds in San Diego. So again, a placement person would know these locations. They would know what their payment schedules are. They would help you understand all of that, because believe me, we just experienced it with my mother-in-law where we moved her to a memory care board and care and read the contract and didn't read the contract explicitly. And we thought it meant that there would be an additional charge of $20 a night if she woke up and got out of bed. We didn't realize it meant $20 every time she woke up or got out of bed. So after the first month, we were hit with quite a substantial bill that many people, including my own parents, would not have been able to afford. So it's really important to deal with the professional who understands all the in and outs of these types of retirement communities. What to do with this stuff? There's tons of emotional attachment to the stuff. And the baby boomer generation and the greatest generation, especially the greatest generation, most of those people were depression babies and had very little things in their life. I call them treasures. So as adults, accumulating treasures was very important. I experienced this myself with my own family and my in-laws as well. There were a lot of Hummels and Yadros and china and crystal and silver and all these things that meant so much to our parents. And there's only so much we can do with that because we have a lot of our own stuff. I was married 44 years ago. I got the china, the crystal, the silver. So I have my own. And I didn't have children, so I don't have somebody to pass it down to. But even my nieces and nephews don't want any of this stuff. they'd rather go, they don't even want furniture. They'd rather go to IKEA and have it fall apart in 2 months, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it is their thinking. So don't be upset when someone says they don't want what you think they might want, and or think about giving those things to your loved ones while you can watch them enjoy them, and understand that it might not be the china and the crystal that they want. For instance, it could be something very simple. My grandparents used to babysit us on Saturday nights. And if you grew up in the 50s, on Saturday night, you know who was on. It was Lawrence Welk and the Bubbles and the 1 and the 2 and the 3. And as a child, that was the most boring TV show to have to watch. But my grandmother had this cast iron woodpecker with a log beneath it, and in the log were toothpicks, and the woodpecker would pick up the toothpicks. And my brother and I would play with that thing for hours, trying to see how many toothpicks we could pick up in a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and then make a game out of it, just not to have to watch Lawrence Welk. So when my grandmother passed away, I really didn't want her jewelry or her china. I really wanted the woodpecker. And everybody thought I was crazy, and my aunt gave it away. And so I ended up finding one in a resale store up in Northern California. Well, if you look up this little woodpecker on eBay today, he's worth $100. So even though he had no value to my aunt when my grandmother passed away, he has monetary value now. And you don't want to get injured. If you have things in the attic, you don't want to be climbing on a ladder to get to those things. And a lot of times it's paralysis by analysis. You're not alone. I have a closet I want to clean out. I started when COVID started and I never finished it. So I need to get back to that closet. And if you're working with a loved one, a lot of times it turns into a battle because what you think is important, they don't think is important. So we're just asking you to set realistic expectations. There are professionals who will help you declutter. There are professionals, it's called the Senior Move Management Association, that will help you with the move. They will help you declutter. They will help you pack. They will help you unpack. You could go and take the day off the day that they move you into your new home or apartment or senior community, and come back at the end of the day, and everything of your belongings will be exactly where you want them to be, down to your toothbrush and your medicine cabinet. So there are tons of options out there, so you don't have to take on all of this work all by yourself. The move, like we were just saying, there are senior move managers, there are estate sales. The unfortunate part is there's so many families trying to sell and dispose of personal property that estate sales unfortunately have turned into glorified garage sales. And I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm saying that to be totally honest. So the expectation of an estate sale, if you think you're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's not going to be the case. Charitable giving, there's plenty of charities to give to, although believe it or not, even the charities are getting a little picky about what they're willing to accept and what they're willing to pick up, because during COVID, they were swarmed with people cleaning out their homes. So that's another option. But again, for instance, Salvation Army used to pick up, they're not doing any pickups anymore. Disabled veterans, they are very particular about labeling what it is they're going to pick up. And if it's not labeled properly, they will leave it on the driveway. Brother Benno in North County at this point is only taking clothing, no furniture. So there are charitable giving options. You just have to be aware of who, where. Father Joe, again, is out there. There's tons of them. You just have to be aware of who's picking up, who you need to deliver to, what they're willing to take.
So in terms of the stuff, it's a real process. So again, I just wanted to highlight the National Association of Senior Move Managers. Really, that is what we feel is the first step to really understand what's inside of your home and what it's going to take if you are looking to move to a senior community. Patti and I have moved hundreds of people from their home into senior communities, and the number one thing is they end up taking too much stuff. If you're going from 3,000 square feet into 800 to 1,000 square feet, again, you need to really give away what, give away stuff, give it to your nieces, nephews, whatever, and to charities. They will take it over time, but it kind of make it a fun process. I know it sounds terrible in terms of it's overwhelming, but it just, again, it's a mindset thing going in. I'll just take the one drawer today, just one drawer a day if you're not planning to move 2, 3, or 4 years from now, then you have 800 days, one day at a time.
Make it your New Year's resolution.
New Year's
We're getting
resolution.
ready to make New Year's resolutions.
So again, and Patty and I are just, so again, making sure we are here to answer all of your questions on all of this at no cost. So just to give us a call for a consultation on an email, a phone call. If you're talking about yourself or a loved one, or you have a friend who needs help, we have the referrals to give them, and UCSD has a host of incredible, that whole baseball field. Susanna's done a great job of filling all these players on that field. You have an estate planning attorney, you have an aging life specialist, you have long-term care, for private fiduciary. Everybody on that field speaks through the UCSD Retirement Association. So we look forward to getting that team together and really having the plan in place. Again, the odds are that you will need some type of support between now, at some point in the future, is super high. Don't ignore it. And so then we can go on from there. So now about selling your home, living in your home, and living in one's home and prepping it for sale are two very different things. So again, in today's market, over the last 2 years, as we all know, the prices of homes have skyrocketed 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50%, depending on location and everything about that. But still, people, it's an idea, again, of getting your home ready, because what everybody wants, no matter what the situation is you want to net the most money possible, especially if you're going to move into a senior community. Some of these monthly fees at a senior community, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a month. That extra $50,000 in your pocket can go a long way to helping you make that move to a senior community a reality. So what do we recommend? We recommend that you get the home ready for sale by doing a tune-up like everybody else. Is that the next? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to the next page. So just like you go to the doctor for annual physicals, you go to take your car in for a lube oil filter, everything else around your life, you have inspections on, and you have tune-ups on, or you have advice from experts on. We recommend, even if you're not planning to move 5 years from now, find out the condition behind those walls of your home currently. So we call it a home inspection. And that costs anywhere from $500, maybe $600, depending on the size of the home. It's a certified home inspector. You'll end up with about an 80-page report, 60, 80-page report. And it's going to overdo everything that's wrong with the house, because they are looking at it from almost like if you were buying a new house. And we're not expecting you to make all these fixes. We just want you to be aware of what a buyer is going to see if you were to sell your house down the road. And if you have time and you have the inclination, you can start to pick off some of those things that you may want to get done before you sell the home. Plumbing, electrical, big ones, roof repairs, obviously termites and things like that. And obviously water damage and termites in San Diego are a big problem. So just be aware and realistic. And then we can talk to you about that report and prioritize what we think is important and what we think buyers are going to see as important. We never want you to be blindsided. Unfortunately, too many sellers get blindsided by buyers who bring them information that you as a seller were not aware of. So if you do the upfront homework and have a home inspection done, you are going to be in control of your future of selling that home, not a buyer who comes and throws some information in your lap in the 11th hour. So you have the home inspection. We prioritize what we think is important for you to do now or in the future or next summer or next year. And then you set a budget. I'm willing to spend X amount of dollars prior to listing the home for sale to get these items either fixed or rehabbed or improved upon. And we prioritize that for you. So a little bit of repair and fixes and upgrades can go a long, long way. And that includes the exterior of the home as well. Curb appeal is very important. We have found, even in a very hot market that we've had over the last couple of years, most buyers today don't want to spend the time. They want to move in. That's a husband and wife with children. They're all working. They've got soccer, they've got baseball, they've got sports, they've got all kinds of commitments. And they've been living in the home, obviously, over the last couple of years with COVID. They don't want to spend 6 months rehabbing the place or improving the place prior to getting it all settled done. So they want to move in ready as much as possible. So this helps.
And the pest inspection is really important because in San Diego, there's no getting around termites. And actually, you should have a pest inspection done annually, which most people do not. Most people think, well, when I go to sell the house, then I'll do a pest inspection. But I, for one, know I live 5 miles from the ocean, and every year they find something that needs to be repaired. So if you haven't had a pest inspection in a long time, we would strongly suggest you at least get that done and be aware of what repairs you need.
And a pest inspection based on that you were going to sell the home.
Yeah.
Again, someone that comes out and just sprays for bugs is not a termite inspection. Two very
For sale termite
for sale termite inspection. So again, make sure you're asking the right questions. And that's one of the things that we're here to help you with. Like if you go and look at senior communities, Patti, like she said, and she's lived this for 12 years with her mom and her mother-in-law. So you have to have, like anything else, when you go to the doctor, when you go into look in senior communities, what questions should I be asking so that I get the answers that make sense and really prioritize your wants and your wishes. This is about you and your successful journey into the next stage of life.
And if you have an annual contract with a pest company and they come out once a year and tell you everything's okay, that's not a for sale termite inspection. Just understand that.
And we hate to belabor the termite thing, but it's a big number. We've had homes that had to have $25,000 worth of work done upon the sale of that home, with unbeknownst to the seller. So if you have a loved one who has maybe, is not getting out a lot, deferred maintenance is a big issue in homes when people start to decline in health. They just don't keep their homes up because they're just trying to get through the day. So if you have a loved one who's in declining health and they're not getting out much, they're probably not taking care of the little things, a water leak, mold. That is, again, a huge issue everywhere. And that will turn off a buyer faster than, I can't think of the expression, but anyway, it'll turn off a buyer very quickly if there's a hint of that in a home today. So we want to make this journey of you moving to a senior community or right sizing into a different place something of joy, not something of trepidation and fear, because we think we can help you achieve that, where this is something exciting for you, a new chapter in your life. In terms of you moving, a lot of people, if you can move and then sell the home, obviously that makes your life a lot easier because you're not having people come through the home while you're living there, and you're not having to rearrange your life for showings and rearranging the furniture to open up space. Because again, the open space concept, the minimalist concept when selling a home is always.
And if you want to do an estate sale, the home has to be vacant.
Vacant. So again, we can talk to you about that. We have worked a lot with the communities to let them know that the home is going to go on the market after you move in. And sometimes, again, I can't speak for them today, but they will defer, they will work with us. We work as a team with the senior community, you and us, and the senior move manager and the realtor, all working together so that you can move first and then enjoy what we call a cruise ship and dry dock, which as many of these communities are, and then sell the home when you're not being hassled on a constant basis. And again, sometimes we can get much more money for it because we can just keep it open on a more continual basis to maximize people coming through the home. So again, something that we all have to work towards as a team. We talked about this, maximum price equals no emotions. It's impossible to take emotions out of selling a home you lived in for 30 or 40 years. We get that. It's emotional. We appreciate that, and we will work with you on that. I mean, we've had the adult children come, mom and dad have lived in their home for 40 or 50 years, and the ones that are most upset are the adult children that don't even live in the home anymore about mom and dad selling the home. And so we get it, and we empathize with that, and we will work with you on that. So curb appeal, fresh and bright, minimalist, depersonalized, and we're not asking you to take all the family photos off the wall, but maybe a few of them. You can leave the dog. And then what we call staging. And now today, in today's world, if the home is vacant, we can do what we call virtual staging. So the whole world sees a staged home. And then once they get there, it's actually, the furniture's not actually there, but we have photos of that virtual staging placed all through the home, which makes it, people understand the room sizes and dimensions and things like that. So it's really an amazing new technology that we can help you. And it's much less money than actual physically staging the home. So we always want to make sure we have a lot of time for questions. If we haven't answered something, or there's got to be somebody wondering what's going on. As I say, Patti talked about the communities. There's probably been about 7 or 8 new communities built in the last 2 years. If you're not visiting them, you should. Even if you don't plan on moving there, just go and enjoy what they have to say and offer. You'll get on a mailing list. I get that. You'll get emails, you'll get phone calls, but they are 4- or 5-star hotel like properties.
Well, thank you, Ron and Patti. This was really jam-packed with great information. With your permission, we will, of course, be posting this up on our RA YouTube channel for those who were interested but had a conflict and weren't able to view this live. Can you just reiterate then for those who are on the call, if they want to start the process, they contact you, is there any cost up front for an initial consultation?
No, not at all. The Senior Stay or Go program that we've developed is our value-added service that allows us to work with the seniors and get them situated either safely in their own home or move to a senior community or right sizing to a smaller home. So that is that's all value-added service on our part.
Okay, and you did talk a little bit about people who serve as sort of consultants or helping people find if they're looking for a particular community. I know of one that's a place for mom. I used to know a professional who worked with that, but do you have a list of several of them that you could share with us that we could send out with a recording so that if people wanted to contact one or the other of these services to look at different housing opportunities?
Sure, we can do that. We can send you an email.